I believe that for some people, it is much easier to have that positive mindset. Number one, it might be one of their absolute all-time strengths, positivity.
Mhm.
Number two, you might be one of those people that are born in the behavior style where the cup's more half full. You see things, people say through those um, rose-colored glasses. Um, and sometimes it's a choice, it's a learned, like I can be this way, but it doesn't work for me too much. Or if I choose this way, life is easier.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear from you about when you first really discovered that you had this mindset for success and and what tools do you use to create that?
I agree with you. I think some people are just born with that attitude. I worked in corporate for 12 and a half years at an accounting firm, and I have to say the first 6 years of that career were absolutely incredible. I was happy. I loved going to work, and it got to a point for me where I it absolutely deflated me going into work. I hated going in. I did not like my job. I did not like my boss. We didn't get along. There was a lot of other stuff, outside forces that contributed to that change in my attitude about my work. And I can remember sitting there in the last 6 years of my career there, and all I could think about was my photography business because I've been a photographer since I was 17, quite a while. And all the while I was working in corporate, I was running my photography business on the side. And all I could think about was leaving that place and running my photography business. So it wasn't always there in me. I think once I jumped into entrepreneurship, it was a bit of a struggle, I'll admit, for the first 2 years, with all of the things that come up around mindset, imposter syndrome, all of these things. I struggled with all of them. I'm going to be completely honest. It wasn't an easy journey. There were times where I wanted to throw in the towel and give up because I thought I'm not where I should be. I was comparing myself to other photographers. And so all of these things played a part. But once I got on the path and I got a mentor who helped me along the way, that just shifted something in me. And it was a choice. I could either give up and go back to corporate and be miserable, or I could continue on the path and look at things through a different lens, look at things positively. And that is a constant work too. Be, it can't be puppy dogs, rainbows, and ice cream 100% of the time. There's going to be days where we do have bad days. But I think that having gone through what I went through, having gone through that first 2.5 years of my entrepreneurial journey, struggling, I think I learned to, when those things do creep in, turn the volume down a lot quicker and recover and move forward. So, I mean, you do. We all have a choice. We have a choice. You can either be miserable or you can be happy. So why would you want to spend your life being miserable? That's part of why I left corporate. Why would I want to spend my life miserable working at a place I didn't want to be and be unhappy all the time? Because not only does that affect you, it affects the people around you.
Mhm.
So why would I want to do that? It is a choice. So I chose, after I got through those struggles, to shift my mindset and be more positive and look at things differently. So I think it's very important. It's the key. It's one of the keys to being a successful human, being a successful entrepreneur, all of these things, it all plays into it.
I really loved what you were saying, Brad, about, you know, not feeling passionate where you were. And, it was uncomfortable going in.
It was.
And I quite often, would say if we ended up with someone on our team, generally in a growth period, the team would need to bring on some extra people, and sometimes you'd get someone that wasn't really the right fit.
Right.
And it was really good to be able to have those conversations because if someone's not happy at work, and if you're listening to this and you're not really happy where you are, just remember you'll be affecting the other people there and the office. And so it's a really good time to have that conversation with yourself if your boss hasn't picked up on it yet. Um, is this the place for you? And if it's not, you know, don't stay there. There is so many things that you can do in the world that, making yourself feel a bit miserable and others feel miserable isn't healthy for anyone. And so it was great, Brad, that you recognize this and you recognize your passion. We were talking earlier today about, I love these full circles. When you were young at 17, You love taking photos. It was your passion. So while you're struggling here in your mind, there's this vision. But when you jumped into it as an
Mhm.
adult entrepreneur for the first time running your own business, and I'm sure it's still a little like this because that is the journey of
Yeah.
an entrepreneur, right? It's never just straight up. Sometimes we have to
No.
come down. So how do you get yourself back up? And do you ever feel lonely working by yourself? Or how do you motivate yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it does entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, whatever you want to call it. It can get lonely. Of course it can because we're siloed and we're working, most of us who are solopreneurs, on our own. We have interaction through the computer with our communities and our all of that stuff. But I think, well, for me, I started tapping into more of my spiritual side of things. And I'm not a religious person. I wasn't spiritual. I just did Brad. I was just doing my thing. And started tapping into my spiritual side. And then about 2 years ago, I created or came up with an idea to start what I call my MMJ practice, my movement, meditation, and journaling. That's my MMJ practice. And I try my best to do it every day. Of course, there are times where I go like gangbusters and I stay on the path. And then of course things happen, life happens, and we fall off the path. And but it's about getting back into that. So that really, I find that really helps me a lot because I do notice a difference when I'm not in that practice. I notice I can feel it in my body. I can feel that I'm not who I normally am. So it's about giving yourself, I think, grace and space around the fact that we are going to fall off doing things sometimes and to be gentle with ourselves about that, but also to remember to get back into that practice. If that's what makes you feel good, if that's what helps you to stay on track, stay focused, keep you from getting into those low points because they are going to come. We're human beings. We are constantly growing and evolving. So we are changing always. So, of course, we're going to have our days where we don't feel 100%, and that's okay. Remember to give yourself grace and space around that, that the next day is another chance. It's another opportunity to better yourself, to do better, to get better, all of these things. So, staying in that practice has helped me huge, tons. And I have to say, my community is a huge piece of that. For me, when I think about entrepreneurship, when I think about life, community is the foundation for all of it. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people, with friends who support you, with your cheerleaders, with your super fans, that is absolutely key to have that support system, that community in place. And I would say that's the biggest piece for me